Welcome back again to our lesson. And we are now on lesson 2 of module 3. With your teacher EJ here, your friendly teacher in your English subject. Today's lesson will be focusing on observing the key events of the story. Are you ready? In the previous lesson, you have learned your strengths and weaknesses as well as the two methods of describing the meanings of words, the connotation and denotation. In this lesson, you will become familiar with the plot parts. A story has parts that keep it interesting or alive. These are generally named into 5 elements of the plot. To prepare you to the next lesson, how do you think their stories are usually structured? So at the end of this lesson, you are expected to watch a video observing key events of the story, scan the story for specific information, and arrange the order of the parts of the plot from the story Orpheus. Let's have our activity 2.1. You are to arrange the following parts of the plot in order. On the right side, the meanings of each part are clues to what comes first. Write your answers on your worksheet. Number 1 is resolution. 2. Exposition. 3. Falling action. 4. Climax. 5. Rising action. On the opposite side is the meaning of the words. Introduces characters and setting. Number 2. Introduces problem of the story. Number 3. Excites the story. Number 4. Provides solution to the problem. And number 5 ends the story. Write the number of your answer on your worksheets. Do you remember the vocabularies we have tackled in the previous lesson? These words are found in the following text. Find out how these words are used in the selection and what part of the plot does each belong. Let's have activity 2.2. We are to read carefully the story entitled Orpheus by Alice Lowe and answer the following processing questions on your assessment notebooks. Are you ready? Nice to hear that. So let's start reading the story. There were 9 goddesses called Muses, born out of Zeus and Titaness named Mnemosyne. Each muse presided over a different art of science. Calliope, one of these sisters, was the inspiration of poets and musicians. She was the mother of Orpheus, a mortal because his father was one, and gave her son a remarkable talent for music. And that's Orpheus. Orpheus played his lyre so sweetly that he charmed all things on earth. Men and women forgot their cares when gathered around him to listen. Wild beasts lay down as they gathered around him as if they were tame, entranced by his soothing notes. Even rocks and trees followed him, and the rivers changed their direction to hear him play. Orpheus loved a young woman named Eurydice, and when they were married, they looked forward to many years of happiness together. But soon after, Eurydice stepped on a poisonous snake and died. Orpheus roamed the earth, singing sad melodies to try to overcome his grief. So imagine, because he had lost his wife. But it was so no use. He longed for Eurydice so deeply that he decided to follow her to the underworld. He said to himself, "No mortal has ever been there before, but I must try to bring back my beloved Eurydice. I will charm Persephone and Hades with my music and win Eurydice's release." He climbed into a cave and through a dark passage that led to the underworld. When he reached the river Styx, he plucked his lyre again. And Cerberus, the first three-headed dog who guarded the gates, heard the sweet music and lay still to let him pass. Orpheus continued to play his lyre tenderly as he made his way through the gloomy underworld. The ghosts cried when they heard his sad music. Sisyphus, who had been condemned to rule a rock uphill forever, stopped his fruitless work to listen. Tantalus, who had been sentenced to stand in a pool of receding water, stopped trying to quench his thirst, and even the wheel to which Sion was tied as punishment stopped turning for one moment. At last, Orpheus came to the palace of Hades and Persephone, the king and the queen of the underworld. Before they could offer him to leave, he began his gentle song pleading for Eurydice. When stern Hades heard Orpheus' song, he began to weep. Cold Persephone was so moved that for the first time in all her months in the underworld, her heart melted. "Oh, please, my husband," she said to Hades, "let Eurydice be reunited with Orpheus." They summoned Eurydice, and the two lovers clasped each other and turned to leave. "Wait," said Hades to Orpheus. "Eurydice is yours to take back to the earth on one condition." "What is that?" asked Orpheus. "She must follow you, and you must not look back at her until you are on earth again." "I understand," said Orpheus, and I am forever grateful." Orpheus and Eurydice left the underworld and made their way through the dark passage that led to the upper world. At last, they reached the cave through which Orpheus had descended. "I can see the daylight ahead," called Orpheus to Eurydice. "We are almost there." But Eurydice had not heard him, and so she did not answer. Orpheus turned to make sure that she was still following him. He caught one last glimpse of her arms stretched out to him, and then she disappeared, swallowed by darkness. "Farewell," he heard her cry as she was carried back to the underworld. Orpheus tried to follow her, but this time the gods would not allow it. And so he wandered the earth alone. He sang his sad songs to the trees and longed for the time when he, too, would die and be reunited with his beloved Eurydice in the underworld. Source: Celebrating Diversity Through World Literature, a Grayton English Learners Material. What a great story, right? And there are so many lessons that you can learn from it. What is that? The word trust. What other lessons you have learned from the story? In our activity 2.3, in 2 to 4 sentences, you are going to answer the questions. I already given you one answer. So what lesson did you get from the story? Does the story follow the parts of the plot? You give your reasons. Let's proceed to activity 2.4. For this task, please write your answer on the worksheet. Question number 1. What was the greatest strength of Orpheus? What was his weakness? Second question. What effect did Orpheus' music have on people and gods? Cite 2 examples of this. Number 3. Why did Orpheus decide to rescue his wife from the underworld? Fourth. Why did Orpheus look back to see if Eurydice was following him? Fifth. What reasons might the gods have for allowing Orpheus and Eurydice to be reunited? Sixth. Explain why the gods gave a condition to Orpheus and to his bride to return to earth. What main characteristic of this text makes it a myth? 8. To whom does Orpheus owe his talent? Why was he able to win the sympathy of the gods? And 9. In what situations were the gods willing to help humans? Number 10. Does the story reveal certain realities about the Greeks? What are these? 11. What does the story reveal about the concept of gods in Greek mythology? I know you are all familiar with the Greek gods and goddesses. So you can do a research and get to know them. Great job! Let's proceed to activity 2.5. Study the chart below and supply corresponding box the given plot of the story Orpheus. Write the letter of the correct answer on worksheet. For column A, you write exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. These are the parts of the plot. And in the opposite side, you're going to write the plot of the story Orpheus. That's in column B. Letter A. What are those sentence boxes? Orpheus is a legendary musician, poet, and prophet in ancient Greek religion and myth. He has the ability to charm all living things and even stones with his music. Letter B. Orpheus met and wooed the maiden, Eurydice. They were married. Directly after their wedding, as the bride walks in the meadow with her bridesmaid, a viper bit her and caused to death. C. Orpheus went to the underworld and successfully convinced Hades and Persephone to give his wife in a condition that he should not turn a glimpse to her until they reached the underworld of the living. They passed the great doors of Hades to the path that which would take them out of the darkness, climbing up and up. But when they almost there, and he turned to her, it was too soon in the cavern. He saw her in the dim light and held out his arms to clasp her, but on the instant she was gone. Letter D. Desperately, he tried to rush after her and follow her down, but he is not allowed. The gods did not allow him to go down to land of the dead the second time while he is alive. Letter E. He wandered through the wild solitude of Thrace, comfortless except for his lyre playing, always playing. The rocks and the rivers and the trees him gladly, his only companions. Write only the letter of the correct answer on the column B. Identify if it is exposition, resolution, climax, and the parts of the plot. Well done, learners! Let's proceed to activity 2.6. How can you relate to Orpheus's experiences? You're going to answer it in 2 to 5 sentences on your worksheet. Now, let's do activity 2.7. This activity further tests your familiarity of the parts of the plot. Number 1 in column A, exposition. 2. Rising action. 3. Climax. 4. Falling action. And 5. Resolution. You're going to write the letter of the answer on your assessment notebook. A. This is the most exciting part of the story. B. This part of the story introduces the conflict. C. This answers when and where the story takes place. D. This is when the problem starts to have a solution. And letter E. This is also known as the ending of the story. Now, let's proceed to activity 2.8. Provide at least 5 descriptions of Orpheus according to the story. Now, how is the story presented by the author? Is it narrative, persuasive, descriptive, or informative? And why? Write it down on your assessment notebooks. Congratulations! Great job! Thank you for listening. See you on lesson 3.